Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're doing something a bit different. We're skipping the polished opening remarks.
Yeah, cutting straight to the chase.
Exactly. We're diving into the Q&A session that followed Opendoor's big strategy announcement, Opendoor 2.0. This is where the real questions get asked.
That's right. And our mission here, for you listening, is to really unpack what came out in that back and forth. We're looking at the core priorities, the risks they're acknowledging, and some pretty aggressive plans they laid out.
It feels like the central theme was this massive, rapid shift in how they see themselves.
Absolutely. It's all about tech execution.
Mm.
Not, as they put it, just betting on the housing market turning around.
Okay, so we'll cover, everything that seemed important from that Q&A, how they're handling short sellers, this long tail risk with certain houses, that ambitious 2026 profit goal, and the role of things like tokenization and AI in all this.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's jump in. #redefining identity and risk management.
So maybe the biggest thing analysts pushed them on right away was this identity question. Like, what is Opendoor 2.0 now?
And the answer was pretty definitive. We are a software company. Full stop.
They even said, "We are not a hedge fund waiting for macro to turn around." That's a direct quote.
It is. And strategically, that's huge. It's not just talk. Declaring they're a software company is a clear signal they want a different valuation multiple, like a tech company, not just a real estate player.
Right, detaching from the housing market swings.
Exactly. And they're saying their leverage, their advantage comes from building excellent products, writing excellent code, and refining their data models, pricing, dispersion, how long they hold houses, that kind of thing.
They also leaned into this idea that tough times are actually good for building disciplined companies.
Yeah, the best software companies are built in hard times line. It forces focus, apparently.
Okay, but that kind of declaration, that focus, it brings out the skeptics, especially on Wall Street. Someone asked them straight up, how do you plan to fight the short sellers?
Yeah. The CEO's reaction there was memorable. He called focusing on shorts deeply boring and just bad for the soul.
Aha, okay, strong words.
And then added, he mostly just pities them.
Wow, okay, that's some swagger. But for a public company trying to attract long-term investors, can you really just ignore Wall Street pressure like that? Isn't that risky?
Well, it is a risk, but their stated strategy is basically ignore the noise, focus on the work. Prove the shorts wrong with numbers, with execution.
So less PR battles, more results.
Precisely. They talked about focusing on weekly improvements in unit economics, getting inventory turning faster. The idea is if the business is fundamentally sound and improving, the rest takes care of itself, eventually.
Okay. Now, shifting from defense to offense, they also talked about a pretty bold vision, didn't they? Asset tokenization.
They did, and the CEO kind of prefaced it by saying he usually only talks about products after they launch, but he made it clear this is fundamental.
Not just some experiment on the side.
No, he explicitly said it's not a side quest. It's seen as critical to their long-term mission.
Okay, so why? What's the goal with tokenizing real estate assets?
It's about ripping out the friction in transactions. 3 main goals. Speed things up dramatically, slash the costs involved, and ultimately broaden the base of homeownership, make it more accessible.
And are they doing anything now, or is this just future talk?
They pointed to concrete steps. They're accepting USDC, the stablecoin, as payment already. They're doing development work with Bitcoin, talking to partners about other stablecoins. So steps are being taken.
But wait a second. Tokenization, that feels like a massive long-term play. Depends on regulators, market adoption. Isn't that a huge distraction when they're laser-focused on getting the core iBuying economics right? Now.
That's the tension. Absolutely. You hit it right there. But their view seems to be it's necessary groundwork. If they don't tackle this fundamental transaction friction, their core business efficiency might hit a ceiling later.
Okay. So they're building the future pipes now, assuming the world will eventually catch up.
Kind of, yeah. Build the digital rails for how homes will be bought and sold in the future so they're positioned when that shift happens. #the path to profitability in ancillary services.
All right, let's pivot from identity and future tech to the dollars and cents. The big question on everyone's mind. When does the dramatic change in profitability actually happen?
And the answer was incredibly direct. Next year.
Wow. Okay, specifically.
They're targeting adjusted net income profitability by the end of 2026. And importantly, that's on a 12-month go-forward basis.
Okay, end of 2026. That's soon for a turnaround like this. Now let's dig into that adjusted part. Adjusted net income. Why is that distinction important, especially in real estate?
It's crucial because it smooths out the noise. Real estate, particularly iBuying, involves holding huge amounts of inventory whose value can swing wildly on paper based on market conditions.
Right, the mark-to-market stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So adjusted net income strips out those non-cash fair value adjustments on inventory. It gives you a cleaner look at how the actual operations buying, fixing, selling homes are performing financially.
Makes sense. And they didn't just give the target, they gave a framework, right? Specific things for us, for you listening, to track.
Yes, very clearly laid out. 3 main pillars for accountability. First, rescaling acquisitions. They're aiming for around 6,000 homes purchased by Q4 2026.
And they said they'd track that weekly.
Probably. Yep, on a public dashboard. So high visibility there. Second, targeting a contribution margin between 5 and 7%.
Okay, remind us. Contribution margin, that's basically the profit on the house itself, right? After fixing it up, holding costs, selling costs, but before corporate overhead.
Precisely. It's the core profitability of each transaction. Hitting 5–7% consistently takes real discipline, better pricing, faster repairs, and critically, reducing days in possession, or DP, selling houses faster.
Got it. And the third pillar?
Keeping adjusted OPEX, the operating expenses like salaries, tech, office space, etc., but again, adjusted really lean, targeting just 3–4% of total revenue.
Okay, 6K homes, 5–7% CM, 3–4% AJ OPEX. That's the scorecard.
That's the scorecard.
This focus on execution, on hitting specific numbers, it brings up that Shopify comparison the CEO made. He mentioned Shopify became profitable just 2 quarters after he joined as COO.
Right, and that they hit the rule of 40 consistently after that, which is, that famous benchmark for high-performing tech companies.
For anyone unfamiliar, the rule of 40.
It's just your revenue growth rate plus your profit margin. If they add up to 40% or more, it generally signals a really healthy, efficient business.
So the point was, this isn't luck. It's not waiting for the market.
Exactly. He stressed this is an active process. Profitability isn't just going to happen to us. They have to make it happen through relentless execution.
And that execution mindset extends to growing other revenue streams too, right? The ancillary services, mortgage, title insurance, that sort of thing. They sounded pretty excited about that.
Oh yeah, incredibly bullish was the phrase used. This is where they see significant growth potential beyond just the house flip itself.
They used the Shopify comparison again here, didn't they?
They did, mentioning how services grew from about half of Shopify's revenue to nearly 75%. That's the kind of potential they envision for Opendoor's attached services.
Now, we've seen others try this. Zillow's big iBuying experiment involved trying to bolt on services, and, well, it didn't end well. What makes Opendoor think they can succeed where Zillow stumbled?
The key difference, according to them, is product design. They want to avoid what they call the boardroom approach, just figuring out how to cross-sell existing separate products.
Like passing the customer from one department to another.
Right. Instead, they want the experience to feel whole. Their analogy was buying a Tesla or something from Amazon. The financing, the warranty, the purchase, it's all integrated, seamless, not a series of handoffs.
Okay. That makes sense conceptually. Execution is another matter.
Always. And speaking of execution, they plan to do all the scaling and building with a surprisingly lean team. Current headcount is around 1,100 people.
Only 1,100 for trying to reshape real estate.
Yeah, and the internal goal is apparently for each employee to be 2 to 3 times more aggressive and more efficient than the average employee in tech.
Wow. Okay. High bar.
Very high bar. And it means they're being ruthless about internal costs, too. They gave this great example, cutting 11 different HR software tools they were paying for down to just one single platform.
Ouch. Imagine being one of those 10 vendors who got cut. But yeah, it shows they're serious about trimming fat everywhere.
Every bit of friction, every unnecessary cost.
So hitting those profit targets, especially that contribution margin, while scaling up acquisitions, it hinges completely on managing risk, right? Specifically, this long tail problem.
Absolutely. The long tail, those few homes that end up causing outsized losses, can kill your average margin. And it often stems from adverse selection.
Adverse selection. That's basically when the seller knows something bad about the house that the algorithm or the buyer doesn't initially catch.
Exactly. The seller offloads a lemon onto the iBuyer. It's been the classic Achilles heel for this model. Opendoor admitted their old strategy was kind of like spreading peanut butter across its base.
Meaning
their offers weren't differentiated enough based on risk. They might have been overpaying for risky homes and underpaying for really good ones.
So what's the new approach? How are the guardrails changing?
The new strategy uses significant dispersion in pricing. Basically, make really strong offers on homes they assess as low risk and likely to sell fast, low days in possession. But be much more cautious, offer less, or even walk away from homes deemed higher risk.
And how do they assess that risk more accurately now?
Technology is key here. They talked about rebuilding their inspection process using structured data, video, audio feeds going straight into AI models, then validating that with standardized human inspections. It's a trust but verify system designed specifically to catch that adverse selection before it bites them.
Okay, and this is where AI really comes into play, not just in pricing, but in efficiency. They gave a really striking example.
Yeah, this one was pretty eye-opening operationally. The process for generating a sales contract, the hot path, as they called it, used to involve up to 11 different human touch points.
11 people to issue one contract. Wow.
Right. Through AI automation, they've apparently gotten that down to one person. And that person's job is basically just to audit the machine's output and handle any exceptions.
That's a massive change. The cost savings alone must be huge.
Huge OpEx reduction, yes. But also speed, getting offers and contracts out faster, and probably a better user experience, too. They mentioned they're now doing almost 750 home assessments per week using AI. That's scale.
Okay, shifting slightly. How are they actually getting these customers? There was a question about their channel strategies, specifically the key agent program versus more direct methods.
Right. How do they acquire the homeowner who might want to sell? Their answer was pretty simple. The mandate is to serve our users however they come.
But do they have a preference? Is one channel working better?
It seems like the focus is definitely shifting towards the D2C channel, direct-to-consumer, getting homeowners to come straight to the Opendoor website or app.
And is that proving out?
Apparently, yes.
Yeah.
They shared some early test results showing that their D2C funnel was converting 6 times better than their non-D2C acquisition funnel.
6 times. Okay, that's a strong signal.
Very strong. It really backs up their belief that owning that direct relationship is the future, even if they'll still work with traditional agents who bring customers. Hashtag the fundamental mission.
All right, let's bring it home. After all the talk about margins, AI, and process, the final question really zoomed out to the big picture. How can you guys make home ownership easier for younger generations?
Yeah, it grounded the whole discussion. And they acknowledged the tough reality out there. Home prices up 50% since 2020, rates way higher, inventory still tight.
Plus, the process itself is still a slog.
Exactly. Takes 60-plus days on average, and something like 1 in 7 deals falls apart before closing. People genuinely feel trapped by the current market and the system.
And the CEO had a clear view on who or what the enemy is here.
The enemy isn't another company, it's the existing process. All the friction, the cost, caused by too many intermediaries, too many steps, too much paper.
So the solution is?
The solution, in their view, is creating that simplified, bundled, end-to-end digital experience we talked about earlier. Make buying or selling a home feel more like, well, buying anything else online.
Did they give any specific examples of tackling the current pain points, like high rates?
They did mention their partnership with Rome. That's a platform focused on assumable mortgages. The idea is to help people who feel stuck in their current homes because they have a low rate they don't want to give up. It's one piece of trying to, as they put it, tilt the world towards homeowners.
Using technology to fight the friction.
That's the core mission, underneath all the metrics and targets. Hashtag tag outro.
Okay, wow. That was a lot packed into one Q&A session.
Yeah.
So, to quickly recap the key takeaways for you, Opendoor 2.0 is positioning itself firmly as a product and tech company.
Right. Driven by intense execution, accelerated by AI.
They've set a very aggressive target. Adjusted net income profitability by the end of 2026, with clear metrics to track.
And the CEO projected a lot of confidence, saying he's more bullish today than I was when I took this job.
Definitely came across that way.
And maybe the final thought to leave you with, building on all this, it really comes down to the data. They're building this machine using standardized inspections, structured data feeds, AI analysis. They're acquiring incredibly detailed information about homes at scale.
Okay.
So the provocative question is, if they're right, if machines do get better at pricing and assessing homes than humans, and they're generating this proprietary data way faster than anyone else, what else can they do with that data advantage?
Beyond just setting the initial offer price.
Exactly. Think about predicting maintenance needs with uncanny accuracy, optimizing repair costs and timelines way beyond competitors. Or even, yes, underwriting mortgages with a completely different data-driven risk model because they understand the underlying asset better than anyone.
That could fundamentally change the economics, not just of iBuying, but of homeownership services overall.
That's the potential disruption to watch over the next decade. Does this data engine create a moat that goes far beyond just buying and selling houses efficiently?
Something to definitely keep an eye on. Okay, that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for tuning in.